Good morning and welcome back to the podcast. Today's kind of weird for me recording this because I never record in the morning, but I have only had my morning coffee. I am in a bit of a rush today. So I'm actually recording this on Thursday, supposed to be editing and putting it out today. A little bit behind on my schedule for the week. And I'm headed to yoga in a little while. So I'm really trying to squeeze this in today, but I'm happy to get back to podcasting because I skipped last week once again. And that was actually kind of brings me to my topic that I want to talk about today. And the reason why last week, everything, I feel like I've been so busy, and that's really, really nice. This is a busy time of year. I also cannot believe that it's December. Can't really wrap my brain around that. Everything is just feels like it's going full speed, which, I feel like it's nice on the one hand. It's really, I love to feel busy and productive. I don't think busy and productive are, synonymous, but I feel like I have been both busy and a little bit pretty productive. And anyways, I just can't believe that it's December. I feel like every day is just so full, and next thing I know, it's like I'm leaving to go home in just a bit of time. So it kind of feels like the sprint to the end of my time here and all the things I want to do, which is also a really nice feeling that it's like, oh my gosh, I leave so soon. And once I know that I'm leaving, there's a lot of things that I'm like, oh, but I want to squeeze in this and this and this. So last week, kind of what happened was that it was Thanksgiving, and we didn't plan to celebrate Thanksgiving. It just wasn't discussed. And then at the beginning of the week, it kind of turned into maybe we should have Thanksgiving, just Marcus and I. Let's just, do something little. Our plan was just a turkey. And the reason why I even started thinking about this was because actually on the Americans in Finland Facebook group, someone commented that and posted a picture that there were turkeys in Lidl. And then there was this whole discussion on the Facebook group about wow, turkeys. I don't think it's really common here that there's been turkeys in years past, whole turkeys. And so that kind of got my mind on the idea oh, well, maybe we should, just a turkey and green beans, just really easy, but something small that'll kind of scratch the itch a bit and remind us of home. Last year we were home for Thanksgiving, and it was so nice. It was Marcus's first Thanksgiving. And so just thought, let's keep up a little bit of the tradition, even though it's just the turkey and the green beans. So that was around Monday we decided. So Thanksgiving is always on a Thursday. We're deciding Monday, okay, maybe we should do that. So I went and bought the turkey, and then by Tuesday it had turned into us hosting an actual Thanksgiving. It was only four other people plus baby that were coming, 5-week-old baby. But it just turned into an actual Thanksgiving. All of the sides that you could imagine, the full-blown thing. Thankfully, the friends who came brought some, quite a bit of sides as well. So what Marcus and I ended up taking care of was, what did we do? We did the turkey, gravy, creamed corn, oh my gosh, I can't even remember. There was a million things. Oh, we got rolls, and then just all the prep, to have people over. And I was telling Marcus, he was so I guess we're going to be deep cleaning. And I was like, no. I've kind of learned that before you have guests, just do a clean, but deep clean after the guests leave. And then I started listing all of the things that we're going to clean, and then turned into okay, yeah, it was going to be a deep clean. So, surprise, surprise. And then just setting up our house for 6/7 guests was funny because we don't usually host, I feel more than a couple. And so we actually have 4 chairs and 4 plates that match and 4 glasses that match and all of that. So we had to pull our balcony furniture to get 6 chairs, and it was really fun. It felt like the first time we properly hosted something, since moving here, and then properly hosted a Thanksgiving. Because in the past we have done, last year was our official first Thanksgiving in Texas. And then before that, Marcus has like kind of experienced the Thanksgiving, but it was in Prague and one of my other friends was hosting it. And yeah, it didn't feel like as official. We didn't have a turkey and yeah. So anyways, that's kind of what happened last week. It was turned from Monday, okay, just something small between me and Marcus, to like feeling like we're actually hosting something, making the apartment look good, all of that. And that's what I want to talk about today is holidays as an expat, and also with a side of holidays in your late 20s slash growing up, and how you keep traditions alive, and like the independence and like choices that you get of celebrating holidays, when it's not just like a given to you in your family growing up. Like the fact that you actually get to make decisions now on what do holidays look like in our family. Also our family. Isn't that crazy? Like to say like Marcus is my family. Of course my family is my family. But yeah, I think this is also a weird mind game, like growing up, getting married, deciding to do things like a certain way in your family, and your family is now someone new, which is bizarre. But yes, first I wanted to just talk about pretty briefly what it feels like and what it is like to be an expat and have holidays come and go as you're far from home. I think that holidays, when you're living far from home, magnify two different things. They magnify the distance between you and home, and then they also can magnify like the independence that you get to have now. When a holiday comes and goes, especially one that isn't celebrated in the country that you live in, so in Finland, like Thanksgiving isn't a thing, then it's really weird when like everyone at home is in holiday mode, and then in your country everything is just like normal and day to day. So even last Thursday, when it was Thanksgiving and we even celebrated Thanksgiving on actual Thanksgiving Day, it was still, the atmosphere is different at home when a holiday is around, right? Like the grocery stores are buzzing, everybody's off work, you just feel that energy in the air. But here it was just a normal Thursday, and everyone got off work and came over afterwards. And yes, it was special in terms of we're celebrating Thanksgiving, but the day as a whole just felt like any other day. There wasn't the energy in the air. So it is weird to, to try to like create a holiday when the mood and the atmosphere doesn't exactly like match up with that. I was even thinking like moving forward, if we want to keep doing Thanksgiving, which I think we do, maybe we would even just take the day off of work, because then it like you lean into that feeling even more. And I think the further that I'm away, the longer that I'm away from home, the more I realize like I need to keep up these traditions that make me feel like I'm home no matter where I am. And even if that means taking off a day of work to make Thursday of Thanksgiving feel like a holiday, then yeah, maybe that's something we would do, because yeah, I think it's just important. Like I'm realizing, as I said, the longer and longer that I'm away, well, number one, the more I need to go back. And then the more I just need to be really intentional about like making sure I bring bits of home back to Finland. I'm kind of like going off gear here for a bit, but like something that's like really, really nice about going to my friend Katie's house. She's a Texan living in Finland as well. We have so much in common, but one thing that she does really well is when she visits Texas and comes back to Finland, like when I go to her house here, they have so many things that are from Texas. So like they have Kirkland's signature stuff, and it's like, oh, Costco and Trader Joe's spices, and like all of these, they have a lot of little things that I just like open the cabinet and I'm like, oh, there's that, and there's that, and there's that. Like, oh, that feels so good to see that label, And I think that they do a really good job of, making here feel like home, because they bring so many bits back. And I've always been like a very, what's the word? I don't know. Like I was going to say like scarce. Like, I don't know, like a person who doesn't bring stuff back. I'm not bringing like souvenirs. I'm not bringing almost anything back from Texas. The last time I did, it was the first time, and I brought brownie mix from Costco, which has been great. But yeah, I think that so the longer I've been away from home, the more I realize like I want to keep traditions alive. I want to go back more often, and I want to bring bits of home here so that I feel like, yeah, I have two homes and I'm like keeping them both alive. Okay, but anyways, going back to what I was trying to say about how the holidays, they just magnify two different things. They magnify the distance and the independence. So the distance in terms of, yeah, I think that that holiday feeling is different. And then of course, everybody at home gets together. The whole family's together. All your friends are with their families. And you just feel like, I feel like on a daily basis, I feel the distance, but on holidays, you feel it to a different degree. Everybody's meeting up and you're not there. But then it also magnifies the independence that you've built. And what I mean by that is that it makes me think about how, yeah, like everyone's at home doing the things that you do on Thanksgiving. But then it highlights that I'm doing something different. And not that different is like therefore good, but more of that I have chosen what I've chosen for me, and that like I have my own little life, and that I'm building something here, even if it's hard, even if it's sad sometimes, but it does highlight a little bit of like that independence in the fact that I've built a life abroad, but then also just in the idea then that like I can rebuild these traditions from scratch however I want. As an expat, if you want a holiday that doesn't exist in the country that you live in, you need to create it. Like it is up to you to put in the effort to make that happen. Nobody else is going to do that for you. And then along with that comes, so like Thanksgiving, the uniqueness to doing it in a new country. So like there's going to be things that are different and things that you're going to have to okay, for example, pumpkin, canned pumpkin. When I make a pumpkin pie at home, right, as all of us do, when we make a pumpkin pie, we use the canned pumpkin from the grocery store. That is not a thing here. I mean, sometimes it is a thing. Sometimes you can find it at like the American section of the grocery store or something, but it's like 10 euros for a can. And at this time of year, I couldn't even find it. So it's not like they're even stocking it up like when it gets close to Thanksgiving for the Americans. So you're going to have to do some improvising. I made this pumpkin puree from scratch, and I mean, it wasn't even difficult, but it's just the small things that are going to end up being a little bit different doing a holiday in another country. If you invite non-Americans to your holiday, just trying to explain like what a dish might be, like, oh, creamed corn. Well, that's, and things that locals might not have ever eaten or done in their holidays. So as much as you can try to like recreate what Thanksgiving would be, it's going to feel different. And it's also going to feel different because normally like here it's a Friendsgiving. It's not like a Thanksgiving with family, but we didn't even call it Friendsgiving because it's not Friendsgiving. It's Thanksgiving. And these people are now my family because that's what you are when you're living abroad, and it doesn't turn into a Friendsgiving. This is my Thanksgiving. These are my people because, I'm building a life somewhere where I don't have my immediate family near me. So just so many little things about celebrating a holiday when living abroad that can feel really good, but then also feel isolating, of course, and sad on the one hand that you're missing stuff, but then also really cool because then you get to rebuild them however you want. And this is what I wanted to also bring into light in terms of like being in your 20s and growing up. I don't even think it's necessarily just as an expat being able to rebuild stuff. But when you grow up and you realize like you're the adult now, like, oh Lord, like you're the adult now, like, oh gosh, like that's a scary idea. But you're the one that gets to create the holiday. Or some of my friends, they hosted Thanksgiving this year. I'm like, wow, that's an old thing to do, right? Like that you actually have your family over. They're the ones that are coming to your house now. Things are just starting to shift as you get into your late 20s and how you approach the holiday season. And you get to do things how you want to do them. And I mentioned this at the beginning, but like just the idea of thinking now, like, this is my family and we get to now create our little traditions. I think it's easy to think like you are officially a family when you have a kid. And when it's just you and your partner, I feel like it's easy to not think of you guys as like a family because it's just two. Or maybe this is just me. In my head, it's like once you have a kid, you're officially a family. But, realizing, you can also not have kids and you are still a family with your partner. You still get to make adult decisions. You still get to do things and like reinvent the way that you approach a holiday. You get to be the one that hosts Thanksgiving if you want to. Like for my friends back home who have family coming over, you get to like ask people to bring certain dishes. You get to do all the things that adults do. You get to like, let's say when Christmas comes along, like you get to start your own traditions, and those traditions don't have to just start once you have kids, but you can decide like, how do we want Christmas to look? Whose family do we want to visit when? What kind of like meals do we want to have for Christmas? Now, and if you're both from the same country, maybe that looks very similar. But for Marcus and I, like what kind of, like I feel like when you're in an international couple, then you get to like pick different things from each of your culture that you really like to do. So yeah, it feels like when you approach this age, you get to make home and make your traditions intentionally, whether that's as an expat or just as a woman growing up in your late 20s. You start to approach this age where you're like, oh yeah, I do actually get to take what I wanted from my childhood and turn it into something new with my partner now. And even if you don't have a partner, like same thing applies. You're still growing up. You're still stepping into that independence of choosing for yourself how you want holidays to look like. It becomes less like passive as you grow up and more of like you have to be an active participant in holidays. Maybe you have to still host, etc. And I think that that's really, I think there's such an interesting shift that happens when you step into this age of, okay, like it's my time to decide how I want to handle this time of year or this holiday, whatever. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on this today. It's just like how these holidays hit when you are an expat, but then also how they hit as you progress through your 20s. And it's interesting to me, like I don't know if I'm the only one who feels like that, the deep 20s are when these shifts happen. Maybe I'm just like a late bloomer to this, but I definitely don't feel like I felt this when I was 24, 23, in my early 20s. Maybe if I had lived close to home and I got married younger and, just felt a little bit more, I don't know, I was living on my own and far from home at that age. But somehow I feel like there's been a pretty clear shift as like I get into my late 20s versus my early 20s, just with like everything. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm the only one who thinks that there's like more of a shift in all of this, like this independence and like holidays and like building traditions and all of this stuff, like when you get in your older 20s versus earlier 20s. But yeah, would love to hear any of y'all's thoughts on this as well. And specifically on the late versus early 20s, if you feel like there's a shift specifically with holidays, and how you're approaching them and building traditions around them, etc. But yeah, that's all for today. I am going to be perfectly on time for my yoga class, which I'm excited about. And see y'all next week. There will be another episode next week for sure.